Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The rumors swirling around the NFL right now is shaking the entire AFC East. And if it turns out to be true, the balance of power could be completely rewritten before our eyes. Word on the street is that the New York Jets, the team that had been so proud of building their secondary around the young superstar cornerback Sauce Gardner, may have just suffered the type of loss that no team wants to face. Reports are suggesting that Gardner, an all-pro talent already considered by many to be the best shutdown corner in football, has decided to walk away from the Jets organization. That's right, folks. He could be on the move, and the destination being whispered across insider circles is none other than the Miami Dolphins. Imagine the magnitude of that move for a second. One of the most talented young defenders in the league going from one AFC East contender straight into the arms of another, instantly fueling one of the most heated rivalries in the NFL with a brand new layer of drama. Jets fans would feel betrayed, Dolphins fans would be euphoric, and the rest of the league would suddenly be on high alert. For Jets supporters, the idea of Sauce Gardner leaving feels unthinkable. He was supposed to be the franchise cornerstone, the guy you build around for the next decade, the type of player who could erase an entire side of the field with his presence. Gardner's physicality, his instincts, and his swagger made him the face of the Jets' defense, a rare player who made opposing quarterbacks hesitate before even glancing his way. If this rumor becomes reality, New York would not just be losing an all-pro corner, they'd be losing their identity on defense. Jets fans had already been dreaming of a season where Gardner locked down opponents while Aaron Rodgers returned under center to chase one last shot at glory. But in this league, dreams can turn into nightmares overnight, and that's exactly what seems to be happening. The heartbreak isn't just about football, it's about the emotional connection fans feel to their stars. Losing him to the Dolphins, of all teams, would be twisting the knife. Now flip the perspective to Miami, and the story transforms into something out of a Hollywood script. The Dolphins have been aggressive in their roster building, always looking for ways to stay competitive with heavyweights like the Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs. Adding Sauce Gardner would not just be another big signing, it would be a seismic event. Pairing him with their already talented secondary could turn Miami's defense into one of the most feared units in the league. Imagine an opposing quarterback dropping back, scanning the field, and realizing that not only is Gardner waiting to lock up their top receiver, but he's joined by a defense that thrives on speed, aggression, and turnovers. The Dolphins' offense already is fireworks with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and now the defense could be just as terrifying. Suddenly, Miami would no longer just be that flashy, fast team. They would be complete, balanced, and dangerous in every sense. The Dolphins' front office would be hailed as visionaries, pulling off one of the boldest moves in recent memory. There's also the psychological warfare at play here. We're not just talking about a player changing teams. We're talking about a star switching from one divisional rival to another, intensifying the rivalry in ways that statistics alone can't capture. Every Jets-Dolphins matchup would be circled in red on the calendar, not just for the standings, but for the storylines, the emotions, and the drama. Imagine Gardner lining up against his old teammates, jawing at them before the snap, while New York fans in the stands shower him with boos. It would be pure theater, the kind of rivalry the NFL loves to showcase on primetime. And you can bet that Dolphins players would rally around him, feeding off the energy and the noise, while the Jets scrambled to prove they could survive without their defensive anchor. This isn't just a roster move. It's a storyline that could define an entire season, maybe even reshape the AFC East for years to come. Of course, with every rumor comes skepticism. Some insiders are questioning whether the Jets would ever truly allow Gardner to slip away, given his importance not just on the field but in the locker room and the brand image of the team. He's marketable, he's charismatic, and he's young. Franchise cornerbacks don't grow on trees, and the Jets know it. So why would they let him go? Could there be tension behind the scenes? Could Gardner be unhappy with the direction of the team or the coaching staff? Or could it simply be about money and Miami's willingness to pay more than New York was prepared to offer? Sometimes, these blockbuster rumors turn out to be smokescreens, the kind of chatter that gets fans buzzing but never actually materializes. Still, the sheer persistence of the reports is what makes people pay attention. It feels like where there's smoke, there's fire, and right now, the fire is blazing hot. What we do know is that if this move happens, it will be one of the most talked about transfers in recent NFL history. The Jets will have to scramble to replace a player who simply cannot be replaced, while the Dolphins will be catapulted into a whole new tier of contenders. And beyond the X's and O's, beyond the stats and projections, it's the human element that makes this so fascinating. Jets fans are on edge, feeling the sting of betrayal before it's even confirmed. Dolphins fans are already celebrating, picturing Gardner in aqua and orange, locking down receivers and bringing swagger to South Beach. Rivalries in sports are fueled by passion, by storylines, and by the kind of moves that leave fans speechless. This rumor has all the ingredients. Whether it turns into reality or fades into the shadows of speculation, it has already changed the conversation. And in the NFL, sometimes that's all it takes to create a storm. The fallout from this rumor goes far beyond just New York and Miami. Across the league, general managers, coaches, and players are watching closely because a move of this magnitude changes how everyone prepares. If you're the Buffalo Bills, suddenly you're not just game planning for Tyreek Hill on offense, but now you're also worried about Gardner taking away Stephon Diggs when your own passing attack tries to make noise. If you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you're realizing that if Miami makes it to the postseason, Patrick Mahomes might have to throw into windows guarded by one of the stingiest corners in football. Even the Patriots, in the middle of their rebuild, would feel the ripple effect. This is what happens when a player of Gardner's caliber changes uniforms. The shift isn't local, it's national. It alters the chessboard for everyone. NFL seasons are marathons decided by inches, moments, and matchups. A single elite corner can swing outcomes, steal possessions, and frustrate superstars. That's why everyone is leaning in right now, waiting to see if this rumor sticks. Because if it does, we're talking about a defensive move with championship-level consequences across the board. What makes this situation even more fascinating is the role of Gardner himself. He's not just a talent. He's a personality, a brand, a presence that commands attention on and off the field. He knows how to connect with fans, he knows how to stir up energy, and he knows how to embrace the spotlight. Miami is a city that thrives on stars who play with flair, confidence, and a bit of swagger, and Gardner fits that mold perfectly. Imagine him showing up at Heat games courtside, rocking the Dolphins' colors, or hyping up the crowd on South Beach during big events. The cultural fit almost feels too perfect. For the Jets, losing him wouldn't just be losing a player. It would be losing a symbol of hope for the franchise, someone who brought identity and edge. Gardner has the power to tilt narratives simply by existing in a different jersey. If he decides that Miami is the place where he can not only win but also shine as a superstar in a global city, the story becomes bigger than football. It becomes about legacy. Of course, with big stars come big controversies, and you can bet that critics would have a field day if this deal went through. Some would argue that Gardner should have stayed loyal to the Jets, finishing what he started and helping to lift the franchise back into relevance. Others would claim that football is a business, and players should go wherever they feel valued, respected, and compensated. And then there's the rivalry aspect. Many fans will never forgive a player for jumping directly into the arms of a hated opponent. Think about the history of betrayals in sports, when beloved figures leave and instantly become villains. That's the type of firestorm Gardner would step into. Every mistake he makes in Miami would be magnified by Jets fans cheering against him. Every interception or highlight play would sting twice as hard for those who once cheered his name. Rivalries are fueled by emotion, and this move, more than any, would pour gasoline on the fire. Whether you side with Gardner or feel betrayed, there's no denying it. The NFL thrives on drama, and this would be drama at its absolute peak. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? Meanwhile, Jets leadership would be left with difficult questions. How do you replace the irreplaceable? How do you sell hope to a fan base that has just watched its brightest young star slip away to a divisional rival? Do you double down on free agency, try to draft the next great corner, or adjust the scheme to account for the massive hole left in the defense? None of those options feel satisfying. Replacing a talent like Gardner is not just about plugging in another player. It's about rebuilding an entire identity. Robert Saleh's defense was built on the premise that Gardner could shut down elite receivers, freeing up the rest of the unit to attack. Without him, the strategy collapses. The Jets would need to rethink everything, from coverage schemes to blitz packages. And while they still have a strong defensive line and talented pieces, the psychological blow of losing their star to the Dolphins might sting even more than the tactical loss. Sometimes, the hardest part of football isn't the X's and O's. It's the emotional fallout when a locker room loses its anchor. On the other side, Miami would instantly become one of the NFL's most fascinating storylines. The Dolphins have always carried that label of potential. They have the speed, the offense, the excitement. But critics often question whether they have the toughness to finish the job. Bringing in Gardner would erase those doubts instantly. It would send a message to the rest of the league. This isn't just a team built on flash. This is a team that wants to dominate every single matchup. With Gardner locking down receivers, Miami's pass rush could become even more dangerous, knowing that coverage on the back end was elite. The synergy between coverage and pressure is what makes defenses great, and Gardner would unlock that. Imagine a playoff game in January, Tua Tagovailoa finding Tyreek for big gains while the defense suffocates opponents behind Gardner's blanket coverage. That's the type of vision Dolphins fans are already dreaming about. This isn't just about signing a star. It's about transforming into a legitimate Super Bowl contender overnight. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the excitement couldn't be louder. At the end of the day, this rumor reminds us why the NFL is more than just a game. It's a theater of dreams, betrayals, rivalries, and legends in the making. Sauce Gardner leaving the Jets for the Dolphins would be one of those moments fans never forget, the kind of story passed down for years whenever these two teams face off. It would change how we view both franchises. The Jets as the team that couldn't hold on to their future, and the Dolphins as the team bold enough to take it. Whether it happens or not, the conversation has already ignited, and sometimes the buzz alone is enough to fuel anticipation for months. Jets fans are anxious, Dolphins fans are buzzing, and the NFL world is glued to every whisper. Maybe Gardner stays, maybe he goes, but either way, this rumor has reminded everyone just how fragile loyalty can be in professional sports, and just how quickly fortunes can flip. That's the beauty of the NFL. One move, one decision, one superstar changing sides, and the entire league feels the quake. This is more than a rumor. This is a potential earthquake. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.